You don't know what you're capable of until you're put to the test. Natalie Johnson had heard those words more than once, but today, they hit differently. Walking into the sterile, white-walled office of her small apartment, she took a deep breath. Her daughter's laughter echoed from the other room, a bittersweet sound. Life had never been easy for her. Every day felt like a balancing act, juggling work, bills, and the never-ending struggle to keep her little ones safe and happy. But this morning, a message had arrived that promised to shake things up. She was one of 4 women chosen for a test, a strange challenge that could change her life. A challenge from Adam Pierce, the CEO of Pierce Industries, one of the wealthiest men in the country. The rules were simple: spend as much or as little as you wanted using a black card. There were no limits, no restrictions. Just show who you really were. For most women, this would be an easy opportunity. The card would mean shopping sprees, luxury vacations, the world at their fingertips. But for Natalie, it felt like a cruel joke. She was used to counting every penny. Her life was a series of choices made under pressure, choosing between bills, groceries, and the occasional luxury for her daughter. But this time, she had to play along. The black card, gleaming with its platinum embossing, felt impossibly heavy in her hands. She stared at it for a moment, the weight of her choices pressing down on her. What would she do with this power? What would it reveal about her? The other women, she knew, would be quick to spend on themselves. A new dress, a weekend getaway, maybe a designer handbag or a spa treatment. But Natalie wasn't like that. She wasn't interested in those things. Her daughter's health was her priority, and she wasn't about to change that for a silly challenge. So, she used the card for what mattered most: her daughter's medical bills. She paid for the specialist appointments that her insurance wouldn't cover, made sure her little one had what she needed. To her surprise, it didn't feel like she was losing out. It felt like the right choice. She wasn't playing a game. This was real life. As she checked out at the doctor's office, the cashier looked at the card and then at her, a hint of confusion in her eyes. Natalie shrugged, trying to hide the tightness in her chest. She wasn't playing for show. She was playing for her daughter's future. What she didn't know was that Adam Pierce was watching. He was studying her, trying to see if she would play by the rules or if her choices would reveal something deeper. And what he found would change everything. Adam Pierce sat in his office, the glass walls giving him a panoramic view of the city below. He had been watching the 4 women through the tracking system set up for the challenge. His life was a whirlwind of high-stakes meetings, multi-million-dollar deals, and an endless list of demands. But something about this test, something about Natalie Johnson, was keeping him intrigued. She was different from the others. While the other women had indulged in extravagant shopping sprees, booking expensive vacations, or posting their lavish purchases on social media, Natalie had done something that left him speechless. She had used the black card for something far more important: her daughter's medical bills. He had expected her to follow the usual pattern, to play the game the way everyone else would. But she hadn't. He couldn't help but feel drawn to her decision. She had made a choice that most people wouldn't even consider. He had watched her pay for specialist appointments that her insurance didn't cover, and it had struck him like a punch to the gut. It was such a simple act, yet it felt so incredibly selfless. There was no grand gesture, no attempt to win favor, just a mother doing what she needed to do for her child. That was the moment Adam realized he had underestimated her. His curiosity piqued. Adam decided to reach out. He needed to know more about the woman who had surprised him so thoroughly. He knew the challenge was just a test, but there was something about her sincerity that felt real. He had built his empire by recognizing the smallest details, by understanding people on a level that others missed. And Natalie Johnson was someone he couldn't ignore. Adam arranged a meeting. It wasn't a formal setting. He didn't want her to feel uncomfortable or pressured. He wanted her to be herself. They agreed to meet at a small, quiet cafe in the heart of the city. When Natalie walked in, he could see the exhaustion in her eyes. She looked just as he imagined, tired but determined. She didn't dress to impress. Her clothes were simple, practical. It wasn't about appearances for her. It never had been. As they sat down, Adam could feel the weight of the moment. He wasn't sure what he expected, but it certainly wasn't the woman sitting across from him. She wasn't looking for a handout or validation. She didn't want anything from him other than a chance to do what was right for her daughter. "I didn't expect you to be this real," Adam said, his voice softer than usual. Natalie looked at him, her expression guarded. "What do you mean?" she asked. Adam leaned back in his chair, studying her. Most people, when given the chance to spend unlimited money, they go all in. They buy things for themselves, for status. But you used it for something that matters. Natalie's lips parted slightly, as if she wasn't sure how to respond. She hadn't expected someone like Adam to understand. She hadn't expected him to notice, let alone acknowledge her choices. I didn't have a choice, she said quietly. My daughter's health is everything. Money doesn't matter if she's not okay. Adam nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. I get it. I think I do anyway. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging between them. Adam could feel something shifting inside him. He had always prided himself on being a man of logic, of business, but here was this woman, this mother, showing him a different side of life, a side that he had forgotten about. Natalie's sincerity was something he hadn't expected. I wanted to thank you, Adam finally said, breaking the silence, for reminding me that there's more to life than just money and business. Natalie smiled faintly, but there was no pride in it, no sense of achievement. She was just doing what any mother would do. It's not a big deal, she said. It's just what you do when you love someone. Adam couldn't help but admire her. Even more, there was something incredibly humbling about her, something that made him want to understand her better. It is a big deal, he replied. And I think you've taught me more than you know. The conversation continued, but Adam's thoughts were elsewhere. He wasn't just meeting Natalie for the test anymore. He was meeting her because he wanted to know who she was. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was seeing things clearly. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was real life, and Natalie Johnson was someone who had changed the rules. As days passed, Adam couldn't get Natalie out of his mind. Every time he passed by his office window, the image of her face, calm, determined, and so different from everyone else he had ever encountered, popped into his thoughts. It was strange. He had dealt with high-powered executives, famous celebrities, and ruthless competitors, but Natalie Johnson, a single mother with a modest life, had left an impression on him that was far deeper than any of them. He couldn't explain it. It was more than just admiration. There was something about her honesty, her unwavering focus on her daughter's well-being, that made him want to know more. He found himself thinking about the conversation they had in the cafe, the way she spoke about her daughter with such love and without hesitation. She hadn't sought praise. She hadn't played the game he expected. She simply acted from her heart. He knew he had to see her again. He needed to understand why someone so grounded could make such a profound impact on him. Adam had always been a man who liked control, who operated with precision and calculation. But with Natalie, he felt out of his depth. So he reached out. He asked her to meet him again, this time in a more private setting. She agreed. The day of the meeting arrived, and Adam found himself nervous. He had never been nervous before a meeting in his life. But something about Natalie made him anxious. He arrived early, and as he waited for her to arrive, he looked out over the city. He had built his empire from the ground up, and yet, here he was, feeling completely unsure. When Natalie walked through the door, her presence immediately filled the room. She wasn't dressed in high-end fashion, no expensive accessories or flashy makeup. She was simply dressed in a way that made her approachable, grounded. She smiled politely when she saw him. You wanted to talk again? She asked, her voice soft but steady. Adam nodded, motioning for her to sit. Yes, I've been thinking about our last conversation, he said, his voice a little more hesitant than he intended. About what you did with the black card. Natalie raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing at the corner of her lips. I hope you're not here to tell me I wasted it, she joked, but Adam could see the guardedness in her eyes. No, he replied, shaking his head. Quite the opposite. I'm impressed. Natalie looked at him, studying him as if trying to gauge his sincerity. Impressed? What? Because you didn't play the game like everyone else. You didn't buy things for yourself. You didn't try to flaunt the power the card gave you. You used it for something real, for your daughter. And I respect that. Natalie leaned back slightly, her eyes softening. I wasn't playing for a reward. I was playing for something more important. Adam leaned forward, feeling the weight of her words. And that's exactly why I'm here, he said, his voice more serious now. I think you're someone who understands the things that truly matter. And I'd like to work with you, Natalie. Not just for the challenge, but for who you are. She blinked, clearly surprised. What are you saying? I want to involve you in something bigger. A project that aligns with the values you believe in. You've proven you don't just go for the easy way out. You act with purpose, and I want to see that in action." For a moment, Natalie was quiet, processing his words. She wasn't sure what to say. She had been offered opportunities before, but this felt different. Adam Pierce was not the type of man to ask someone to join his cause unless he was serious. "What's the catch?" she asked, her voice cautious. Adam shook his head. "No catch. Just an opportunity to make a real impact, to make a difference. Something that's about more than just business." The silence stretched between them for a moment before Natalie finally spoke. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for this," she said, her voice uncertain. "I don't have the experience, and I don't know if I'm cut out for it." Adam smiled, a genuine, warm smile. "You don't need experience, Natalie. You've already shown more strength and heart than most people could ever hope for. That's what matters." She looked at him for a long moment, as if weighing his words. There was still hesitation in her eyes, but Adam could see the spark of something. Hope, maybe, or curiosity. Whatever it was enough to make him believe in the possibility of something more. "All right," she said slowly. "I'll listen, but I need to know more." "Of course," Adam replied, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. "Let me tell you everything." As Adam explained the project, Natalie listened carefully, her brow furrowed in thought. She had never expected anything like this. A chance to be part of something bigger, to make a real impact, not just for herself, but for others. She had always done everything for her daughter, but the idea of stepping into something more, something that could potentially change the lives of many, was overwhelming. "So what exactly are you asking of me?" Natalie asked, her voice steady but filled with a trace of uncertainty. Adam leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "I want you to lead a team that will work on a social initiative. We're creating programs to help single parents, families who are struggling. People like you, people who don't have the resources, but have the drive to succeed." Natalie's heart raced as she processed his words. This wasn't a simple job. This was a responsibility, a chance to use her experiences, her struggles, to help others. She couldn't deny the appeal, but doubt crept in, as it always did. "I don't know," she said slowly. "I've never led anything like that before. I'm just a single mom who works part-time and struggles to make ends meet. How am I supposed to lead a team?" Adam smiled, his expression warm and reassuring. "You already have the skills. You've been managing everything on your own for years. You know what it's like to make tough decisions, to put others before yourself. You're already leading in your own way." Natalie felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had always felt like she was just getting by, surviving from one day to the next. She had never considered herself a leader, not in the traditional sense. But Adam saw something in her that she had never recognized in herself. She wasn't sure if she was ready for something like this, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized it might be the opportunity she had been waiting for. "I don't know if I'm ready for all this," she said softly, her voice tinged with doubt. "But if I can help people like me, people who need a chance, then maybe I'll try." Adam nodded, clearly pleased with her response. "That's all I ask. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to try, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." For the first time in a long time, Natalie felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the change she had been waiting for. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in this after all. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Natalie. At first, it felt surreal. She wasn't sure what she was doing or if she was even capable of handling the responsibility, but Adam's encouragement kept her going. He had given her full autonomy over the project, empowering her to build a team, create programs, and lead the initiative to help single parents and struggling families. Natalie started with small steps, reaching out to local community centers and organizations, setting up meetings, and speaking to people who had faced the same struggles she had. It was overwhelming, but there was something deeply fulfilling about it. She had never felt this way before. She was used to working hard to survive, but now, she was working towards something that could make a real difference. Slowly, but surely, things started to fall into place. She met with social workers, counselors, and other single parents who had stories similar to hers. Each conversation, each meeting, pushed her further into a world she never thought she'd belong to. Natalie was no longer just a mother fighting for her daughter's future. She was a leader, someone who could inspire others to take control of their lives. She could feel the shift in herself. She began to realize that she was more capable than she had ever given herself credit for. Adam checked in frequently, offering his support and advice when needed, but always encouraging her to take the lead. He respected her ability to handle the pressure, and over time, she started to believe in herself too. One afternoon, after a particularly productive meeting with a new partner, Natalie sat in her office, looking at the growing list of families who had benefited from their programs. There was no turning back now. She had found her purpose. As she sat back in her chair, she felt a rush of gratitude. She was doing something meaningful, something that not only impacted her life, but the lives of so many others. She had given her all, and it was paying off. That night, as she tucked her daughter into bed, Natalie felt a sense of peace she had never known. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living with purpose. Adam's words echoed in her mind. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to try. And she had tried. She had done more than try. She had succeeded. The journey wasn't over, but for the first time in years, Natalie felt ready for whatever came next. It had been months since Natalie first met Adam, and her life had changed in ways she could never have imagined. The social initiative she was leading had gained momentum, and the families who were benefiting from their programs were beginning to see real change. As she sat in her office one afternoon, reviewing the latest data on the program's success, a knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called, and the door opened to reveal Adam standing in the doorway, a slight smile on his face. "Got a minute?" he asked, stepping inside. Natalie returned the smile, pushing the paperwork aside. "Of course, Adam. What's up?" He took a seat across from her, his usual confident demeanor softened by the look in his eyes. "I just wanted to check in. I've been following the progress, and I'm genuinely impressed. You've done more than I could have hoped for." Natalie blinked, taken aback by his words. "I'm just doing my part. There's still a lot to be done." Adam shook his head, his smile growing wider. "You don't give yourself enough credit. You've changed lives, Natalie, including mine." She felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words, but also a little discomfort. She wasn't used to receiving praise, especially from someone like Adam, who had always seemed so out of her league. "I appreciate that," she said quietly, her voice betraying her modesty. "But I couldn't have done it without the team, the community support. It's been a collective effort." Adam nodded in agreement, but there was something in his gaze that made Natalie feel as if he was seeing something deeper. "I know," he said, "but you were the spark that started it all. You took something small and turned it into something that's helping people in ways they never imagined." Natalie felt a lump form in her throat. This wasn't the type of recognition she was used to, and it hit her harder than she expected. For so long, she had only felt invisible, like she was just getting by, trying to keep her head above water. Now, sitting across from Adam, she realized how far she had come. "Thank you," she said softly. "That means more than you know." Adam paused, his expression softening. "You've come a long way, Natalie, and I think there's so much more you can do. I want to offer you something, an opportunity to take this to the next level." Her heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" "I want you to join me, officially. I'd like you to come on board as a full-time partner in the company. We could expand this project nationally. We could make it bigger than we ever dreamed." Natalie was speechless for a moment. This wasn't what she had expected. The idea of working with Adam on a national level, helping families across the country, was overwhelming. But it was also incredibly exciting. She had never imagined that her life could lead to something like this. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "That's a huge offer," she said, her voice filled with uncertainty. "I don't know if I'm ready for all that. This project, it's been my passion, but I'm still learning, still figuring things out." Adam smiled reassuringly. "You don't have to be ready. That's what I'm here for. To guide you, to support you. But I truly believe you have what it takes to take this even further. I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think you were capable." Natalie swallowed hard, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. Could she really do this? Could she be the leader Adam believed she could be? She had never considered herself that way, but as she looked at him, something inside her stirred. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the trust he was placing in her. Maybe this was the opportunity she had been waiting for all along. "I'll do it," she said finally, her voice steady now. "I'll take the leap." Adam's smile widened, and for the first time in a long time, Natalie felt like she was standing on the edge of something big, something that could change her life and the lives of countless others. She wasn't just a mother struggling to get by anymore. She was a leader, ready to make a difference. And with Adam by her side, she knew there was no limit to what they could accomplish together. The transition into her new role was faster than Natalie had anticipated. The national expansion of the program was now in full swing, and every day seemed to bring a new challenge. There were meetings to attend, partnerships to negotiate, and dozens of families to reach out to. But for the first time in her life, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. The work was hard, and there were moments when she questioned herself, but every time she saw the impact of their efforts, whether it was a parent receiving help with medical bills or a child getting access to a better education, she knew it was all worth it. Adam had been right. She was capable of more than she had ever imagined. And with each new success, she gained confidence. But that didn't mean it was easy. There were still long nights, sleepless moments, and the constant pressure of making sure every decision was the right one. And then, one evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Natalie found herself sitting alone in her office, staring at the stacks of papers in front of her. The weight of it all suddenly felt too much. She took a deep breath and rubbed her eyes, trying to push the feeling of overwhelm away. Just then, her phone buzzed on the desk. It was a message from Adam. "Want to talk? I know you've been working hard. Let's catch up." It was simple, but it made her smile. Adam had always known when to check in, when to offer support. She texted back, "Yes, please. I could use a break." Within minutes, he was at her office door. She motioned for him to sit, her exhaustion evident in her slumped posture. "Long day?" he asked, his tone gentle but knowing. She nodded, her shoulders sagging further. "I don't know if I'm cut out for this, Adam. It's all happening so fast. I feel like I'm going to miss something, like I'm letting people down." Adam leaned forward, his gaze soft but intense. "You're doing great, Natalie. I see what you're doing. It's more than just the work you're putting in, it's the heart you're giving. You've changed so many lives, and there's no stopping what you can accomplish. You're more than capable of handling this." She swallowed, the lump in her throat threatening to make her voice crack. "I don't feel like I am sometimes. I'm just a mom trying to do the right thing." Adam's eyes softened even more. "And that's exactly why you're perfect for this. You care in a way most people don't. You're making a real difference. And as long as you keep caring, you'll keep finding the strength." The words hit her in a way she hadn't expected. In all the chaos, she had lost sight of why she started this journey. It wasn't about being perfect or having it all figured out. It was about helping people, about using her own struggles to fuel something greater than herself. Adam's reassurance gave her the clarity she needed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was thriving, even when it didn't feel that way. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice a little stronger now. Adam smiled, standing up. "Anytime, Natalie. You're not alone in this." She watched him leave her office, and for the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of peace. She had come a long way, and she knew that no matter what came next, she could handle it. She was ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. The following months seemed to blur by in a whirlwind of meetings, plans, and nonstop work. Natalie was fully immersed in her new role, and although there were still moments of self-doubt, she found herself growing more and more confident with every step. The program she had helped build was now touching the lives of families all over the country, and the results were beyond anything she had ever dreamed of. But with success came new challenges. The higher the stakes, the more pressure Natalie felt. She knew the eyes of many were on her, waiting for her to lead the initiative to even greater heights. As much as she tried to stay focused, the weight of the expectations began to feel heavier. One evening, as she was reviewing a series of proposals for future partnerships, her phone buzzed on the desk. She glanced at it. It was a message from Adam. "Let's meet tomorrow. I need to talk to you about something important." Natalie's stomach fluttered at the message. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she knew Adam's messages were never casual. The next day, she arrived at their usual meeting spot, a quiet cafe nestled on a corner street, a place where she felt she could be herself. Adam was already there, sitting at a corner table, his laptop open in front of him. When he saw her, he closed the laptop and waved her over. "Natalie," he greeted her with a warm smile. "I've been meaning to catch up with you. How are things going with the program?" Natalie sat down, forcing a smile. "It's going well, Adam. We've made great progress. But honestly, I feel like there's so much more to do. The pressure's starting to get to me." Adam's expression softened as he listened. I can see that. You've been working tirelessly, and it's paying off. But you can't carry it all alone, Natalie. It's okay to lean on others. It's okay to ask for help. Her heart skipped a beat at his words. She hadn't realized how much she had been internalizing. For months, she had taken on the responsibility of the project, believing she had to do it all herself. Adam continued, his voice firm but caring. You've proven you can lead, but don't forget that. Leadership also means knowing when to trust others. Your team is there for you, and they respect you. Let them carry some of the load. Natalie looked down at her hands, fidgeting with the edge of her napkin. She had always felt like she needed to be in control, but Adam's words resonated deeply within her. Maybe it was time to let go of the perfectionist mindset and allow herself to rely on others. I guess I've been afraid, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Afraid of failing them, of not being enough. Adam reached across the table and placed a hand on hers, his gesture unexpected but comforting. You're already enough, Natalie. You've proven that in so many ways. Letting go of the need to do everything yourself is not failure. It's strength, and it's something that will only make you a better leader. Natalie met his gaze, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of relief. The burden that had been weighing on her shoulders didn't seem as heavy. She still had a long road ahead, but she wasn't alone. With Adam's support, she could take the next steps with a renewed sense of purpose. She smiled, a genuine smile this time. Thank you, Adam. I think I needed to hear that. Adam smiled back, a look of pride in his eyes. You're welcome. Just remember, you don't have to do it all by yourself. And if you ever need anything, I'm here. Natalie nodded, feeling lighter than she had in months. As they talked more about the future, her mind began to shift. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was leading, growing, and most importantly, learning to trust herself and the people around her. For the first time in a long time, she felt like the future was bright, and no matter what came next, she was ready for it. The next few months brought a steady flow of progress. Natalie felt herself becoming more comfortable in her role, balancing the weight of responsibility with the support she had learned to lean on. With Adam's guidance and the trust she had started to place in her team, the program began to flourish in ways she hadn't imagined. They expanded to more cities, reaching thousands of families who were now getting the help they needed. As their success grew, so did her confidence. She had taken the leap, and it was paying off. But as always, new challenges arose. One afternoon, Natalie found herself facing a decision she wasn't sure how to make. A company had reached out, offering significant funding for the program, but with strings attached. They wanted to have more control over the direction of the initiative, shifting some of its core values in exchange for the financial support. It wasn't a decision she could take lightly. Natalie spent hours that evening weighing the pros and cons, her mind running through every possible outcome. She knew this was a critical moment in her journey, a moment where she had to decide what mattered more, keeping the integrity of the program or accepting outside help that could accelerate their growth. As the sun set, she took a deep breath and reached for her phone. She needed to talk to Adam. He had always been a sounding board for her, someone who understood the complexities of the decisions she had to make. She dialed his number, and he picked up on the first ring. Hey, Adam, can you talk? She asked, her voice tense. Of course, what's going on? He replied, sensing the seriousness in her tone. Natalie explained the situation, laying out all the details and the possible repercussions of accepting the funding. When she finished, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. What do you think? She asked. I think you already know what you should do, Adam said after a moment. You've built something special here, Natalie. Don't let anyone take that away from you. The right help will come when it's meant to. Natalie nodded, the weight of his words settling into her. She had worked too hard to let go of the values that had made their program so impactful. You're right, she said quietly. I won't compromise on what we stand for. Good, Adam replied, his voice filled with pride. You've got this, Natalie. You always have. That night, she made the decision. She politely declined the offer, choosing to maintain control over the direction of the program, even if it meant a slower pace. It was a risk, but it was one she was willing to take. The next morning, as she walked into the office, she felt a renewed sense of strength. She was leading a movement that was more than just a program. It was a testament to everything she had fought for. And now, more than ever, She knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them head on.